Hello traders, how is it going? So I do get a lot of questions as to whether I focus on the fundamental news or I solely focus on the technicals. Well, the news events are very important in the market because it creates momentum, but what you need to understand is it doesn't change the direction of the market, and I'll show you in a split second what I'm talking about. A lot of traders become very anxious and fearful whenever there is an upcoming news event, and that is when you see traders exiting their trades or ready to gamble the direction of the market. If trading is something you want to be doing for years, then I guess you wouldn't prefer to come in the market feeling anxious and fearful whenever there is an upcoming news event. But what if there is a way to eliminate this negative energy and stay calm in the market by focusing on chart patterns and market behavior? Let's jump on the chart and let me show you what I'm talking about. So today is 14th of December. Yesterday, that is 13th of December, we had CPI news coming in for the USD. We had negative reports, right? Which means the dollar is going to be weak and any pair that is trading with the dollar is going to be affected, right? So if dollar is going down, then we will have other currencies going up. So let's go on the chart and look at some dollar related pairs. So here we are on DXY on the daily time frame, and we have a bearish structure, right? So currently we can see price approaching these support levels. So let's go down on the 4-hour time frame. So here on the 4-hour time frame, this is where the news actually came to give the market momentum, right? So this level. So I'm going to cut this price action so that we can be able to see how to take this entry, right? So on the 4-hour time frame, we have price also creating lower lows and lower highs, right? So before the news, this was the structure. So let's look at the pattern that is playing out here. Now, going back to the daily time frame, this is an impulsive nature of the market, right? So this is the impulsive nature, or this is the impulsive phase of the market, and then we can see the corrective phase also right here, right? This is very impulsive, this is very corrective. So we can add our trend lines here, right? This is a pattern that we are seeing at this level. So let's go back to the 4-hour structure. This is the 4H, right? So we have the first touch right here, the second touch right here, expecting a possible third touch, right, or a possible double bottom formation. So looking at this structure, this is bearish. Then we had this support level, right? So this was our support, price broke below the support, and we had a retest, right? So this was a pullback. This is going to be an uptrend on the 1H time frame, right? But this is just a pullback on the 4H time frame. So we want to be trading with the trend. We don't want to go against the trend, so we want to be looking for selling opportunities, right? So we want to wait for this pullback to finish so that we can take this trade to the downside, right? So looking carefully at the pullback, I can also spot this left shoulder, this head, and then the right shoulder, right? So this was an indication of a reversal on the pullback, right? So we had a break of this low, price broke this low, and then this was just a retest of this head and shoulder pattern. So this was a breakout, retest, and then what we were looking at is just a bearish pattern that can possibly push the market to the downside, right? So we have this impulsive move to the downside, a correction, and then looking forward for a break to the downside. This is what we were just looking at, right? Based on this pattern, we have the first touch, second touch, we can expect a third touch at this level. So let's go down on the 1H time frame to see how we actually caught this trade. This is a clear head and shoulder pattern, break of the neckline, and then a pullback, right? So this was before the news. We just placed a sell stop right here, and then you can see how the news came into play. This was just a spike to the downside, right? We didn't know the result of the news, right? We didn't just sell because the news was negative or whatever, but looking at the structure, we were just expecting this move to the downside. So the news just gave the market momentum. So let me forward it one more time. Price came down here to our third touch level. So you can see how we were able to catch this trade, right? Not focusing on the news. The news just came in to give the market the momentum, but understanding the structure, we were able to know that this market is going to move to the downside, right? So if the news is coming in, we are not being scared, we are not being fearful or anxious. We are just taking a trade based on what we are seeing technically, right? Let's take a look at another pair. So this is USD on the daily time frame. It's also bearish. We have lower low, lower high, lower low structures, right? And a pullback right here. So looking at this on the daily time frame, we just recently broke this low, right? We broke this low. This is a retest, then a possible move to the downside, right? So we are not really concerned about the support and resistance level. What we are focusing on is the price action. The support and resistance level is just giving us an area to be looking for price reaction at that level, right? So on the daily time frame, we were looking at this level, right? So let's go down on the 4H time frame. So this was before the news, right? So before the news, this was the structure of the market, right? So adding our patterns, which let's just see how the market structure will look like. So we had this structure, right? We can see how price is correcting, right? This is an impulsive move. This is a correction. And on the 1H time frame, this is going to be an uptrend. But on the 4H time frame, this is just a pullback, right? So let me just take this off so that we don't get confused. So right here, we have this first touch level here. We have the first touch, second touch. What price can do is to go up, hit this level as a third touch level, and then complete this pattern. Or we can also create a double top formation at this level. So before the news, this was what we were looking at, right? So let's look at the price action at this level, right? So mostly I tell my student that it's not about the support and resistance, or it's not about these levels. It is how price is reacting at the specific level, right? So I just want to know how price is reacting here. What are the candlestick patterns that is playing out here? What are the chart patterns that we are seeing? Are we seeing any reversal pattern over there, right? So let's go down on the 15 minutes time frame. Now let me take this off. So before the news, we had this. And looking at this, I can clearly see left shoulder, the head, and then a possible right shoulder, right? So I had my neckline right here, right? The very moment we break this neckline to the downside, I'll be looking for selling opportunities, which means that price is not going to trade to the upside because the head and shoulder is a reversal pattern, right? So let's take a look at this one. So we had this. This was right before the news, right? This was right before the news. So right here, we had the break of the neckline. We can see how the candlestick has closed below this level, right? So looking at this nature of the market or the pattern, we just took a sell here with our stop loss right here. And let's take a look at how the market moved, right? So you can see we just spiked to the downside, right? We didn't know the result of the news, as I said, but what we were looking for was selling opportunity because of the pattern that we are seeing here. So we are focusing on the technical side of the market before we even think about the fundamentals. Fundamental is just going to give the market momentum. So this is exactly how the market played out. And then going back to the 4-hour time frame, we were actually expecting this, right? So this was an impulse. This is a correction. Then we were expecting an impulsive nature of the market, right? The same thing happened here. Looking at this structure, we have this impulsive phase, we have this correction, and then the impulse, right? That's the same thing we have here. We have the impulse, the correction phase, and then the impulse, right? So that is exactly how the market actually played out. Let's look at Aussie dollar as well. So on the daily time frame, Aussie dollar is going to the upside. We were actually trading to the downside. We saw this left shoulder, head, and then right shoulder, and then price reversed, right? So currently we are on an uptrend, and we can see price is creating higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, right? So we are on an uptrend. Price has started moving correctively right here because we are approaching this level, right? So we have a corrective nature. This can possibly break to the downside based on a market structure or based on a strategy that we can implement here, but we are not talking about that. Let's just take a look at how the news moved this market or how we could have been able to take part in this trade. So this is the daily time frame we're looking for buying opportunities. Down to the 4H time frame, this was the news, right? So let me cut it. This was the news event. So before the news event, we were actually creating higher highs and higher lows, right? So right here, let me just draw this trend line. Right here, we had price breaking to the upside. So we took out this high and then it came back to these support levels, right? Then we had this left shoulder, head, and right shoulder. So this was also a reversal pattern. Price broke above and came for a retest, right? So we had a break and retest of this head and shoulder pattern. And this is still a bullish structure, right? So if I should add this, we have our first touch, second touch. What we were expecting is price either creating a double top here or going to this level for a third touch, right? And this is where we can start looking for maybe bearish formations and all of that, but we are not there yet. So let's just focus on how we took this trade. So going down to the 1H time frame. So on the 1 hour time frame, we had this first touch, second touch, and third touch, right? And we had price already coming back to this level. This was our resistance level. Price came back as support, right? So we already had this pattern in place. And looking carefully at this level, we also had our possible double bottom formation, right? And this was our neckline. So we had price breaking this neckline at the third touch, right? This first touch, second touch, third touch with a double bottom, break of the neckline. So right here, this was before the news. We were already in this trade for a buy. And then what did the news do? The news just gave the market momentum, right? Just take a look at this. The news just pushed the market to the upside. So this trade was not taken because of the news. We just took this trade because we were expecting price to go to the upside, because this is a bullish structure. So with the fundamentals that came in, we had negative CPI report on the US dollar, right? Which means if the US dollar is negative, we will have the other currency being positive. So AUD gained some momentum because of the negative report on the CPI.